Call the order of the Planning Commission of the City of Columbus. It is 6 p.m. and have the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Number 3 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Looking for approval of meeting agenda for tonight and the approval of September 3rd, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion? Go ahead.
I, Kim, would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda from September 3rd, 2025 of the Planning Commission meeting minutes.
Second by Mike.
Take a vote.
Susan, abstain.
Kim, I.
Mike, aye.
Andy, aye.
Robin, aye. Okay. Next on our agenda is the public open forum. Is there anybody here who would like to speak to us tonight about anything not on the agenda? Anybody at home? All right then. We'll move on to the Velair apartment complex proposal concept review. This is not a. This is just simply a concept review. They're going to tell us what's going on, and we're going to listen, and then we're going to ask them some questions.
Okay.
Maybe I do.
All right.
Marty O'Connell, are you on TV? You're Marty? Marty, if you'd like to step up here to the table.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, my name is Marty O'Connell. I am a developer with Velair Development Company, and here before you today to present our concept for the Hornsby Street property next to the Caribou Coffee. Before I dive into that, just to give you some further background on our group, Velair Development Company. We are an apartment developer based out of Richfield, Minnesota, so we're local to the market. We've been around since 1999, and since that time, we've developed a little over 50 properties encompassing about 3,500 units. Our bread and butter, so to speak, was always developing rent and income restricted housing, both general occupancy, non-age restricted, and senior housing. More recently, in the last couple of years, we've done more market rate housing as well. So anyways, I'm going to be presenting a concept for a 200 unit market rate housing proposal at the Hornsby Street site. Mr. Davis, do you want me to go through the PowerPoint, or do you want me to kind of just walk through the proposal here as I'm doing right now?
I think if you just go through the PowerPoint, that gives everybody a real good background, and we got some visuals, and you got your concept
Perfect.
laid out.
You can take a look at the screens and then just give me a thumbs up when you want me to switch slides.
Okay? Perfect.
You're
awesome.
good.
So anyways, yeah, our mission statement's up there to provide quality housing that's aesthetically pleasing, environmentally conscious, and built to last. As I'd mentioned, we've typically done a lot of workforce and senior affordable type housing, but more recently we've done market rate housing as well. And most of our developments have taken place within the Twin Cities metropolitan area, although we have done a number of developments in Rochester, Minnesota, as well as a few outstate properties as well. The development team for this project is Velair Development, and just for other quick background on our group, we used to be known as MWF Properties. We recently underwent a name change beginning August 1st of this year to Velair Development Company, and that was simply to better align with our in-house property management group, Velair Property Management. They manage all of our properties, and we share office space with them. So there's a lot of synergies there with just understanding kind of the day-to-day activities at the site level and being able to react to anything that's going on at our properties in a timely manner. The architect would be Cost Wilson Architects. They're also local to the market. They're based in Bloomington, Minnesota. We've worked with them on a number of projects, and they actually are kind of one of the leading architects, if you will, for multifamily housing developers within the Twin Cities area. The construction contractor would be Eagle Building Company. As you can see, they've completed 36 properties in the previous 5 years, so they have significant experience doing multifamily housing. It's another group that we've worked with on many of our past projects. And then, as I'd mentioned, the property management group is in-house Velair Property Management. This next couple slides just give you an idea of some recent developments we've done. Here is a property called Concord Flats. It's a 162-unit market rate apartment building that was built in Burnsville, Minnesota, completed in 2023. The proposal that we'd be presenting to you here today, it'd be similar kind of in nature to this development here in terms of size and scale. This is a 4-story building. There's a level of underground parking at this building. There's amenities such as a club room and game room, balconies, a fitness center, things of that nature. Here's some pictures of the inside of the building, as well as the patio and grilling station that we have outside of the building. And here's what in-unit features look like: quartz countertops, there's in-unit washer and dryer, LVP flooring, things of that nature. And then this is just another picture of another recent development we've done in Bloomington, Minnesota, Lindale Flats. This has rent and income restrictions associated with it, so it's workforce affordable housing, but still a really nice looking product. And then here's some pictures of the interior of the Lindale Flats development. So the site that we're looking at here today, I won't spend too much time on the site, as I'm sure you're already pretty familiar with it, but it's just off of 35W in Lake Drive, kitty corner to essentially Running Aces. And it's just north of the existing Caribou Coffee on Hornsby Street. There's a lot of good connections to the site. Scandia Trail is, as everyone's aware, getting redone right now, and we'll have a pedestrian trail that runs along that entire street. And then Hornsby Street has an existing pedestrian trail, and as Forest Lake does their kind of portion of the redo of Hornsby Street, that pedestrian trail will get extended to the north up past Clear Lake. So there's going to be a lot of good connections to the site that we're really excited about. The site will also have good visibility and access to 35W. We anticipate that, a lot of the people that could potentially live at this project will be people commuting in and out of both the Twin Cities metropolitan area, as well as, Forest Lake and surrounding communities. So the actual development proposal, as I'd mentioned, we're looking to develop up to a 200-unit market rate apartment building with a mix of studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom units. It'd be 4 stories of residential units, and then 1 level of enclosed parking under that structure. Total parking, give or take, and again, this is kind of a concept at this point, right? So we don't necessarily have hard counts on the parking, but we're looking to do about a 1.7 parking ratio, which is for every 1 unit, there'll be about 1.7 parking stalls available. A lot of that parking, again, will be enclosed and underneath the building, and then the remaining amount of parking will be surface parked, all off-street. Amenities include an outdoor patio, an outdoor playground, would be a dog run, community room, club room, game room, fitness center, a package room, and also community Wi-Fi. In-unit features would include stainless steel appliances, kitchen tile backsplash, quartz countertops, LVP flooring, and washer and dryer. Here's another view of the site. The actual aerial of the site's about a 5.3 acre site. We connect to the existing stormwater ponding facilities that the city owns, both to the north and to the south of the site, as shown on here. Some other things we like about the site as well is, the surrounding land uses are guided and zoned for commercial uses. So like this could be, commercial, or restaurant spaces, or, maybe it's a pharmacy, things of that nature. So things that people that are living in this building could either work at and walk across the street to go to their place of employment, or they could obviously shop and do convenience type activities at those surrounding locations. Here's how our site plan or our concept overlays on the actual site. It's a large L-shaped building. I know it's kind of hard to see on the actual screen in front of you here, so I'll kind of try to explain, but the entrance to the building is kind of at the corner of the inside corner of the L, as well as the patio area. And then just to the right of that would be the playground, and the dog run is kind of in that area as well. There's 2 little drive lanes showing to the underground parking structure of the apartment building. And again, I apologize, it's a little bit hard to see on this screen here, but and then we have about 195 surface parking stalls shown on this plan, and approximately 1 acre of open space or open area on the left-hand side. We also have a walking path that encircles the entire building. We're also, again, this is a concept, so we're flexible on where we can locate, or where we will ultimately locate maybe some of these amenities. We're certainly open to feedback. Here's some pictures of some developments that we've both done and Koss Wilson, our architect, has also done. This kind of gives you an idea of what the building from an exterior perspective could potentially look like. Again, there's balconies shown here. Just wanted to provide this to show you some examples. Some key benefits to the city. One would be, this development would represent a very large increase to the property tax base to the city. Based on our estimates, we'd be projecting about $550,000 of total property taxes that'd be getting generated between the city, the county, and state uses. Ultimately, that boils down to what the property is assessed at the county level, but this is a projection of what we would anticipate for the amount of property taxes that would get generated on a 200-unit building. It provides new housing, 200 brand new units of high-quality rental housing. As we all know, there's a big need for housing across the metropolitan area, and this would help fulfill that need. It benefit the surrounding commercial users. Ultimately, commercial uses are driven by, obviously, their customers and nearby households. And this is sort of a big injection of new potential households living in the area that could, that would be looking for convenience stores nearby, or restaurants, or things of that nature. And then lastly, in our opinion, it's the highest and best use of what we see as a key development site in the city, right? It's a very prominent site that is visible, has a lot of visibility to Interstate 35W. And we're proposing what we believe is a high quality and also dense development at this site. This is just a really preliminary timeline of what we would see as next steps in the development process. A lot of this is going to be, dependent on, financing conditions in the marketplace, and the speed at which we can work through, finalizing a purchase agreement if we, were to move forward on this and go through the entitlement process with the city as well. So it's got a long lead time. We wouldn't anticipate closing on the land and starting development until, probably over a year from now. And it could take longer than that. It just kind of depends again on market conditions. With that being said, I know that was a lot, and there may be a lot of questions, so feel free to ask me any questions you may have, and thanks again for giving me the time to present this concept today.
Thank you for coming up and seeing us today. I just had, when I was looking through this earlier, I noticed that you're going to be looking at this point. I know we're talking a long way out, but for basically two exemptions possibly or variances of one of our parking and 2 of our density. So it is something that, I am aware of. It's not something we have to deal with tonight, but I just wanted other members of the board to be aware of that those are two, fairly big things, but I think they're certainly doable. And you answered my other question about the open space. Is that where you're going to put everything else? And no, the answer is no, that's not where you're putting all the other outdoor stuff. So that's good.
Yeah, and we can certainly look at putting stuff there if that's a preference at all, but right now we're setting it aside as open space for people to use, to maybe walk their dog or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, yep. And that's good. I think that's good. Your timeline, understand it's a long timeline, so I appreciate that you come in this early and let us know what's going on, and that way it's on our radar, and as we get closer, we'll remember that you've been here once before, and hopefully. We'll remember you've been here before, and we'll have more discussions as time rolls on. Anybody else have any questions?
I'm good for right now.
Well, I thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Planning Commissioners.
I also did want to address the changes that you mentioned about increasing density and changes to our parking regulations. That is something that we've been talking to Marty and Velair about in our code while working up to doing this potential project and working through how to do that through a PUD process, which allows some wiggle room with specific code lines depending on other improvements that are done on the site. So we have been discussing that.
And the other item too with this in regards to the parking, there's that essentially 1 acre of open space which should be used for location of some of those, shifting of those amenities. They could also be used as an area for potential parking expansion if needed through a proof of parking approval on that. I will say we've been dealing and talking with Marty for about 6 months now. They've been very good to work with, and I think they recognize that in these negotiations it's always a two-way street, and they've always been willing to listen to what our requirements are. We've been listening to their needs, and we've come up with something. And just so you're aware, is they sent us a proposed purchase agreement today, which we'll be looking at and possibly working on too. So I think they have a good proposal, and I think it's essential that this property be developed in this nature for all the reasons that he gave. One of the other reasons too, and he mentioned and alluded to it briefly, is the property across the street. We do have a purchase agreement in effect now with a local developer who's looking for essentially retail, restaurants, professional and personal services. He is very excited about the possibility of this coming in and thinks it will enhance his opportunity to market that property in a more timely manner also.
I was thinking of that as well when I was reading through the proposal that we had talked about that other property across the street. And I thought, oh, that would be fabulous.
Yeah. And just think of these two adages. Number one is that retail follows rooftops. The more rooftops we can get, the quicker it's going to be to convince some of these other type of businesses that we'd like to see come in. It's going to enhance that. And the rising tide floats all boats. So there's lots of spin-off effects to this, and it's a good deal, I think, for the city in terms of not only the property tax base it'll increase, but it looks like it's going to be something that would complement what we're looking for in terms of architecture and exposure of that intersection to proper development.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, our next item on our agenda is the LeMeyer subdivision variance request. If I could have you, the LeMeyers, please step up.
Hello, I'm going to give you guys the preamble on this one. The LeMeyer family is proposing a subdivision of their property at 14561 Furman Street. Their concept is to combine the existing partial with a portion of a landlocked 40-acre tract located in the rear of the lot in order to meet the minimum acreage requirement, and then subdivide that property into 2 parcels. The reason for their request and coming before you at this point is the existing parcel has a road frontage of 225 feet. The minimum requirement in the rural residential district is 220 feet. So any subdivision of this property would therefore require a variance from the city code's road frontage and access standards. We've met a few times regarding this proposal, and prior to having them fill out all of the crazy paperwork and spend a lot of money and time on this proposal, they wanted to first present it. We recommended first presenting it in a more informal setting to see if there was any consideration for this variance. So I would like to hand it over to you guys and see what you
Can you
guys'
just tell us a
proposal
little
is.
bit about what you're hoping to do, why you're hoping to do this? We get a general idea from your own words.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing us to be here. Special thanks to Eleanor and Jack, too, for helping set this meeting up for us. So currently, our son and daughter-in-law, they live just over the bridge south of our property, and the idea here is we're trying to find a way to bridge all the gaps and get consideration for the variance that we're asking for, so they can build a house, an ADA compliant house on the property with their daughter-in-law's disability. Our plan is to the east of our existing lot lines. The Prue estate had 40 acres, which my father-in-law has recently purchased from his siblings. Our plan is to purchase 20 acres of that from him, and that would allow us 28 acres of land, as Eleanor spoke to at least initiate having us enough land to provide them with a 5-acre lot or whatever, minimum would be required. We understand, speaking with Eleanor and Jack, the things that the city have in place with lot lines and road frontage and all these different concepts and things that are in place. So understanding that, we're here to ask if a variance would be possible with what we have kind of laid out on the screen. Yeah, can you pull up that one, please? Mm-hmm. So this one, and we realize that what we would end up with is a fairly skinny front end to our lot, right? And we would have to create, from my understanding, an easement along our existing driveway to properly get the road frontage on both lots. From our point of view, we understand, looking at a plat map, this would not meet or fall to the current guidelines or standards. Driving by on the road, if a house was sitting on that lot on the north side of my driveway, it would look completely normal, in our opinion. And so, kind of in a nutshell, that's why we're here tonight. That's what we're asking, what could possibly happen from your group in terms of would we be able to move forward and try and get a variance?
Sure.
Would I be able to
Sure, go ahead.
just understanding the uniqueness that these lots would have in the surrounding neighborhood? I just want to speak to the situation from our side a little bit. About 7 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with something called spinal cerebellar ataxia. It's a genetic neurological condition that her cerebellum will atrophy over the course of her life. Makes mundane, regular things difficult. Walking, eventually talking, eating, stuff like that. The uniqueness of this is we want to be able to get ourselves in a position to be next to a support system. Me being she can't work, so me being a single contributor, I go to work. Someone around, like my family, my parents living right next door, my grandfather, and the lot on the 2 lots north of that one. We just want to make sure that we can be in an ADA compliant home next to support, and that's our uniqueness that we're bringing to you guys. Thank you.
I guess my concern really is how close this other driveway would end up being to your neighbors, how wide of a driveway you would have to have, because you have to be able to get emergency services to the back, 20 or 40, whatever you want to call it, which requires quite a wide driveway between just the width of the driveway plus what needs to be on either side of the driveway to get an emergency vehicle down there, a fire truck. I look at that and I say, I don't know how you can fit that with only 225 feet. In essence, the way things are written right now is you've only got 5 feet to spare. And I look at it as you're going to need at least 30 feet. And myself, also, I think, I think about precedent. And God, I would hate my neighbor next door to me to put a driveway in next to me so that he could access his 40 acres that sit behind his house and sell it off or something. I would be devastated myself. That's just my opinion on this. I don't see where I would vote for this simply because of the dangerous precedent says, I sympathize with you. Oh my God, I sympathize with you so bad. I really do. And I wish I would be able to say something different than what I'm saying. But that is my opinion. I don't know how my cohorts here feel. If you would like to speak.
Go ahead. I agree with what you're saying. I have 2 relatives that had ataxia, and I understand the restraints that you're going to have, and it's not if an ambulance or fire truck comes, it's when and how many times. And, it is something that I think the space is going to cause a problem. And it's not that I'm not sympathetic, because believe me, I do understand this firsthand. And I don't know how to fix it.
Would I be able to ask a question?
I'm sorry, that's my wife.
I forgot she was there.
Perhaps don't.
I'm not coming. I'm not speaking from the heavens, I promise. I just had to be away for a business trip. I'm trying to understand what you mean, because there already is a driveway that already has fire trucks for many years up and down and ambulances up and down. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Well,
There's a 900-foot driveway there already.
but city ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, requires that each home have their own driveway, their own address, and their own 220 feet of frontage road.
Okay, I think go ahead, Eleanor.
I completely understand. The reason, at least when we were talking about the emergency vehicles that often come up when we're using when we're talking about these shared driveways, is that it does need to be wide enough and have a wide enough easement that they can pass each other, since there's two homes on the end of that driveway now. So we do have that establishment, or that precedent to increase the driveway width when it's shared, and then establish a easement over it that could be turned into a road later down, later in the future. Thank you. I'm really stumbling over my words.
I think the concepts we submitted show the space for a cul-de-sac that could be developed in the future.
I actually shared the same sentiments and thoughts regarding the driveway portion. And from the standpoint of an easement, thinking to future and not family members owning these properties, it's possibly not advantageous or attractive to future sales, future purchasers of having a large easement for the neighbor's driveway going through the property, and potentially at a certain point in the future, a road, perhaps a cul-de-sac, or curb and gutter at that point. So that's where I went with this, and also just looking at the topography of that back parcel looks to be challenging as well. So that was my thoughts, in addition to the road frontage as the code does require at this point.
It just seems that for a family that's been in Columbus for 135 years, that will have a large number of acres to deal with, to not be able to figure out a solution here, is of course disappointing. Understand and hear everything that you are saying, but would request that every stone is overturned. We aren't new to the community. There is not sales of these properties anywhere on the horizon. I grew up in the house to the north of where I live right now. So I've been in this area myself for 50 plus years. So I guess I would ask that there's some work around this with the special circumstance and the disability and the request that families can be together and support each other, that we don't just shut it down, but rather become creative. I don't know if you're up for that, but that's what we would request.
I can appreciate that. I really do. But there are also procedures and requirements we need for appeals and variances. And I have a list of A through F, and A through D of conditions that have to be met for us to even be able to do this. And unfortunately, just the first two requirements eliminate you there, in my opinion. Again, this is just an informal meeting where we're just trying to tell you, whether you want to pursue this or not.
Right. Yep.
And so that is where I am at that. It sounds like a majority of the board may feel that as well.
That is unfortunate. I know the kids have spoken with their real estate agent. They have done a search in Columbus for ADA homes, and ADA, there aren't any. The closest is within Forest Lake and well out of a young couple's range of over $1 million each for those homes. I guess I would like to know how, I guess it's maybe a question beyond this planning committee, but it's one that maybe you need to consider as families do try to cling together and support each other through difficult times. And what is your, this is a disabled person here, and is there not any accommodations that can be made for that?
Scott, did you say you wanted to?
Rob, but
Rob. I did that, yeah, last week.
it's all good. Rob Bush, I'm on the council. And I just went over to Eleanor because I was kind of confused on what we were working off there. But Eleanor, I believe it was not too long ago, we had something similar with the Janinski place and a shared driveway. What are the differences between that parcel and what we're working with here today?
The difference between that parcel and what we're working here today is there are still requirements to establish a roadway easement over that, and then establish a development agreement to develop the road at a later date, or if the city wanted to develop the road, that they could not vote against that action.
Sure.
And with this particular case, it is too narrow to even establish that easement.
Okay. And that's based off the setback from the property line, you're saying?
This is based off of
Width of the property?
the width of the property.
Okay.
It is as narrow as we allow.
So just trying to be creative with you.
Yes.
If they were to move their driveway and do away with the other driveway and move it closer to one side of the property, is that doable that way?
We can
Just trying to explore options, right? I know
completely
that
understand, yes.
the commission's fallen within what they can only do, but I'm trying to find maybe a creative
A
solution.
creative solution here. We can definitely.
Not to step on everyone's toes either, I'm sorry.
No, I'm all for creative solutions.
Yes,
Like I said,
It would certainly
I think
still
we all are.
require that road frontage variance and set that precedent in this neighborhood.
Okay.
I think that but we can explore it. The other things that we've talked about in the past is we do have a temporary family care unit, which is essentially allowing a secondary apartment structure in their home. It's not ideal, obviously, if you want to have separate homes, different lives, but we do allow that as an option in our code to allow both families to remain in the same home. That's our current, we've talked about some allowing other provisions of that, since this is something that comes up so often. I do get these particular requests a lot.
And the reason I bring it up, right, like they're trying to do it the right way.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of places around our community that there is people living in pole barns that we have no clue about.
I know that, yes.
I do thank you for coming in and, doing it the right way, but personally, I don't know if there's a creative way to do it. And if the rest of the council be on board, I don't know that. I'm just speaking for myself and possibly being in your situation someday, so.
I understand.
I have a question, Andy Heinen.
Yes.
How wide are your two neighbors' property, and do you know the neighbor? Like, would they be able to, say, buy 15 feet from each neighbor? Would that require rezoning, or?
I think that would make both of, I haven't measured exactly.
Okay.
If that would make the neighboring properties too narrow.
Okay, because I was just looking, because they obviously, between the two of them, they have the narrowest one, so it looks like there might be a little leeway on that. If you could buy 15 feet on either side, get your 30 feet for your driveway.
To answer your question, we know both neighbors pretty well. The neighbor to the north, in between our property and my dad's, actually is really in favor of this for the kids and is a contractor and wants to help them realize this. I don't know if they would sell or what we could do about property switching around, but I think that both of our neighbors on the north and south are really reasonable.
Yeah, because if you need 30 feet and you could figure out a way, if it works with both of your neighbors, to get 15 on either side, then it sounds like that portion of
That problem would go away.
that problem would go away.
Thank you. Thank you for the ideas.
So if that particular problem went away, what would we be left with? I know it's a,
I might have brought us down a different road, right? And I apologize to everyone, but it's just, I don't.
No.
I think it still becomes, still non-conforming and still need
Right.
variances.
Right.
Yeah, I was trying to think in how that would look as well, and I see quite a bit of lot splitting and combining, and getting to be that narrow does pose challenges, not just against the code, but in property lines and easements and future development. Whether or not anything is obviously in the plans for anything currently or in the near future, that's not to say that it can't happen. So that's my thought. Yeah, it would still propose challenges.
One thing, you might have touched on it a little bit, but when you're, as far as like conformity in the neighborhood goes, if you are standing on the road looking at this lot currently, you can't see a house. It's an empty field in between the other two lots. And so what he touched on at the beginning was you put a house in that field, you're driving down the road, you'd have to look at plot lines, which, of course, someone coming in to purchase land here or build a home, they're going to look at lot lines. But as far as conformity, the look of the neighborhood, the cohesiveness, visually, it does look like there'd be one house. But yeah.
Yeah, can't be from the road, is what he's trying to say. The current home.
Yeah.
I have a question for Eleanor. So say down the road, obviously this plot of land would go up for sale. Is there a way to just say that old house, everything's gonna be sold as one lot, not two houses, two lots? Is it able to just be sold as one 28-acre piece, say 50 years down the road? Can you make that part of the agreement?
I don't believe so.
Is there anything regarding deed restrictions in our code? I didn't check before I came.
I would have to double check what our deed restrictions are and probably talk to our legal team a little bit about that. It would be a requirement if they were going to sell as one property at the end, thank you, they would have to demolish one of the homes.
Okay.
We definitely do not allow multiple homes on a singular lot.
Right.
Sorry, we're going to try to get a straight view, so here. So we can see what you guys were talking about. I believe it's this one.
That's it.
so the small spruce trees are
Hey,
more
Kat.
or less the property line on the left side of the screen.
Oh, here.
Okay.
And then the fence to the south of our driveway is the existing property line. And then our house right now is down at the end of the driveway. It's just shy of 1,000 feet from the road to our gas meter, behind that ring of trees. So their house essentially would just be right out in the middle of that wide open field. And it, without knowing all the regulations and laws, it is frustrating, and we know that you're all aware, what we're trying to do and the situation. It's a special circumstance that we know we're trying to get, past all the hurdles to get this done. It is unfortunate that, my wife and I could buy the 20 from her dad and end up with 28, and we really can't utilize it for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the lot lines, plot lines were not created by us. You know, that was decided by the estate. So that's hard too, you know.
And her dad's already kicking himself for not thinking in advance and making the lot lines a little more pleasant to be able to do, you know, something like what we're trying to do.
Like wider lots instead of the more pencil lots.
Yes. Yeah.
This is Rob. For sake of just trying to find out that location, you're about, what, halfway's down Furman?
It's about, we're about 2
On the
miles
east
off
side?
Crossway, or off of Lake Drive, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about a mile, well, Crossways Lake Drive is, what, a
Just
mile or so
corner,
off of
right?
Lake Drive, and then it turns into Furman, and we're about another mile down on the left, and
Sure.
I think I believe Heidi is 4th generation Prue, and Justin would be 5th generation Prue, and yeah, it's just the family unity and the support and all the things we talked about. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think we have to come up with a more creative solution than what we can do as a planning commission. Like I said, we have guidelines that we have to follow.
Understood.
And if it were come down to, and I'd say just at this point, you know, you're early on, but at this point, I would say I would not recommend a variance, just simply because of the width of the lot. But you have to decide, you know, based on what you've heard here tonight from the other members, as to whether you want to try and come up with something creative and come back to Eleanor and Jack. Maybe they can come up with something so that we can get past our rules that we have to follow. If you can come up with that, I'm all ears. I so sympathize with you. You know, I've seen landlocked parcels a number of times, and if it's not there, we've always had our hands tied by the rules and regulations that are set forth already. So at this point, I will wish you, all of you, sincerely good luck, and I hope we can come up with something different than this proposal at this point.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. all
Well,
of you.
thank you. Thank you so much for the time and for the willingness to think about it, really seriously think about it. Appreciate it.
One other thing, from the staff perspective, we'll be more than happy to sit down and see if there's something creative that we can come up with that may meet your goals and what the planning commission has to work with. If you want to call Eleanor and set up a meeting for maybe one day next week, maybe we can sit down and take a look at a few things maybe we didn't look at initially and come up with something else that could come back before the planning commission for their consideration.
We'd love to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Appreciate that.
I will reach out to you guys right after this meeting with some of the feedback that I've heard from everybody else. We can talk to Kelly, and we can keep pursuing a different option if you'd like to do that.
We would.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, ma'am, don't worry about that.
Yeah. All right. Next,
on our agenda here is we're going to discuss ordinance on fence regulations. Eleanor, do you have anything that you would like to say first?
Of course. So we've discussed this a couple times now. We have some actual language on paper. Our current code does not have a formal fencing section of the zoning code, which is fairly unusual to start with. We have them kind of scattered throughout the zoning code in various different areas, and it's a little bit vague. So the ordinance put before you right now is going to try to both consolidate all of the rules that we have scattered throughout the code in one understandable section that is easy to find, as well as address some of the issues that we brought up in previous meetings, such as formally discussing the height restrictions of 6 feet can be taller in commercial areas if approved as part of a CUP, no corrugated metal or plastic fencing, no barbed wire or electrified fencing unless it is for the keeping of animals, livestock, or crop protection. And I did include the section about the taller fences on arterial roadways. That's what the starting language of that would look like if we choose to continue to pursue that. I have heard some mixed thoughts about that in previous meetings. So trying to come to a consensus on whether or not we would like to include those height exceptions, as well as any additional things that we would like to add to our fencing regulations, remove from our fencing regulations. I would like to kick off that conversation.
My initial just things that came to my thought right away were I didn't find anything that really was just clear and concise on setbacks. So basically from what I could tell is you could put it as, and I'm thinking of the road right away, snow plowing, snowmobiles, four-wheelers, really anything. And I think maybe there should be some setbacks established and kind of depending upon the height as well. And then for the arterial roadway, the height exceptions, is it specified somewhere that maybe I missed because I didn't quite see it here, but anything over 6 feet or even up to the 8 feet would require a building permit? I think I had the question on that because I didn't see it specified.
That can definitely be specified. I do know that per state code, for building code, anything above 7 feet will require a building permit. I think that can definitely be added to that. We included that as under review and recommendation of the zoning administrator, but adding building permit would make the most sense. For your mention about setbacks, we have never had setbacks for our fences. They can be right up against the property lines. They cannot be in the right of way, but can be typically anywhere on your property that you choose to put them. When people reach out to ask, I recommend go get a surveyor because you're going to run into a lot of problems with your neighbor. And I recommend that they put it maybe 2 feet back, 2 or 3 feet back. It's not required.
Well, you have the comment in here unless otherwise clearly, that's pretty vague.
Okay.
That's very vague. I know in my previous house, there was discussion between my neighbor and I where exactly our property line was, and he wanted to claim it's where he laid his sod down. Well, you were there first. That doesn't give you 5 feet of my yard.
It doesn't.
No, it does not.
So I think that needs to be less vague. I don't know if we can require people to get a survey, but boy, I tell you what, people have land and they're out here and they're mighty particular about it. I know I am. I don't want to give up even a foot of my land.
Same.
I do not. I'm the same way.
I have a question.
Yes.
In where I live on the lake, we have a person next to us who put up the fence and restricted the people 3 houses down from being able to see the lake, including mine, from our house. And I think when you're taking away somebody's view that they pay to be on the lake to see it, and you're confined because of a fence, it's a hard one to swallow. We have to have some guidelines that everybody can follow.
Does the fence go all the way, basically almost to the lake?
Pretty much.
So there's not like the ordinary high water line setback or anything like that for?
As a part of our shoreland ordinance, there is some setbacks for that regarding any sort of structure.
Maybe they didn't follow that, unfortunately.
I have a question about the setbacks. Isn't there like a 10-foot utility easement on every property? You have the buried underground lines everywhere. So if you build a fence, you could potentially hit a line. So
They are not typically utilized currently for that, and it is up to property owner discretion to call before you dig.
But I mean, if you want to add a setback, you just do your 10-foot utility easement line. That way, if snowmobilers coming through, no one's going to worry about hitting a fence.
Generally, a fence is an acceptable use in that, and if
Yes.
there's ever any need for it for the drainage or utility easement itself, the requirement is the fence would have to be relocated.
Okay.
I have another question, and that is plastic fencing. What is plastic fencing? Is it resin fencing? Because there's some beautiful resin fencing out there that I would have no problem with somebody putting that in. However, plastic picket fencing, we're talking something totally different, but a resin fence is usually a nice looking fence. And I don't want the generalistic of plastic to include resin fencing.
Okay. So,
And then there's the big one that we were talking about, and that's the 8-foot fences that line along our major thoroughfares, if you will. Myself, I don't want to see this for two reasons. One is we'd end up with a jagged landscape. 6 foot, 8 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, 4 foot. I think it would not look nice. And I forgot what I was going to say. Keeping the previous things that we have done with 8-foot fencing around commercial properties, and that is we have required an opacity element of covering 80% of the fencing.
we have done that in the past for particular projects, but not as a standard. There are definitely 8-foot tall fences in commercial and industrial areas that we have not required to be screened in the past.
I would think this would be an area where that would be a place that we would want that 80% opacity.
Yes.
And I see that as a particular problem for homeowners to actually be able to do that. They think that they might be able to do it, but I don't think most people realize what it takes to cover an 8-foot fence to
With
opacity
foliage.
when they do it. I mean, we're talking big trees and bushes, real big trees and bushes.
All right. This exception would almost only apply to those who already have an existing tree line at the edge of their property, if you think about it that way.
Yeah, they would have to put it on the inside of their tree line. So those are my biggest concerns with the fencing, that, we're trying to come up with a good ordinance that's all comprehensive.
Okay. So I've heard a couple things about adding setbacks. How are we feeling about adding some setback provisions to the rural residential districts?
I'd be in favor of that. Do I have an idea what exactly those should be at this point?
That goes into the looking at all of our,
Didn't have much of a thought process for that as far as footage goes.
We need a little more guidance on that.
Understood. I wanted to see what you guys were clarifying what our current rules are, and then you guys can see where gaps are that we can add on to them. And then for moving forward, if we want to take a informal vote at this point on whether we want to include the 8-foot exception for arterial roadways, just for my clarity, if we can move away from that and start going into the other things that we've been talking about, we just want to sound off?
So in essence, you would like us to decide whether arterial roadways are going to get an exception? Is that what you're trying to say?
Do we want to keep that provision of the code or move into?
Or reinvent a new code for arterial roadways? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, do we want to keep that section and continue developing it? Or, because I've gotten mixed feedback on that.
I think the arterial roadway height exception is not something I want to see.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
One day.
I don't see any beauty in it. You know? I love a rural area, but I don't want to see it suddenly look like little fortresses. My opinion.
I'm in agreement.
I would agree as well.
I agree as well.
I do not agree.
That's good.
Yeah, I personally, I think there could maybe be some more workings to it to make it a little bit more maybe more of the liking. My thought process is, if it's a good material, if there is some, screening and some opacity, I guess it's also too, my thought process, it's my property and I would like a fence and, I'd like to have it 8 feet tall. And if I follow the rules that are written and get a building permit, I personally, my thought process is, and my feeling is that it doesn't, I don't have a strong feeling that I'm okay with it.
Okay.
That was a long roundabout, sorry.
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like from us, Eleanor, on this? Any questions?
Going through the guidance that I've gotten from you, just so I can clarify if I've missed anything, is clarifying some of the materials a little bit more, especially around the plastic comment. That was a piece of code that already existed. That was already a rule that we had. The corrugated metal or plastic fencing, so we can expand onto the allowed materials. Some of the location stuff, considering providing some options for setbacks that we could discuss a little bit further.
Yes.
Clarifying stuff around Coon Lake overlay district specifically, because that is a different zoning district than the majority of City of Columbus, and making sure that that's included in our shoreland, protecting the shoreland from that. Okay. Setback. Clarifying when a certified survey may be required. I did look through a couple of other neighboring cities' codes, and it was often left vague on whether or not they would require a certificate of a certified survey for fencing along property lines. That was language that other communities had used, but I can do a little bit more research on when to require that. And removing the arterial roadway exception, unless we want to bring it back at a later date. For now, we'll remove that section. Is there anything that I missed there?
I do not believe so.
All right.
I think so.
I will come back with a revised version.
All right, thank you, Eleanor. So, anybody else have anything more to say on
No, sir.
that before I move on to the next item on our agenda?
Nope.
Okay, next item is my commissioner's report, and I just want to say I was remiss in not welcoming you.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry. To our humble group of people here. And Susan, it is nice to see you back finally.
Thank you. Good to be back.
And that is all I have for today. Eleanor, do you have any?
I don't have a ton to report. It is Columbus Fall Fest this weekend. On the 26th, it will be hosting a movie night at Running Aces. Saturday, the 27th, we'll have having festivities here and in the park as well. And then worship in the park on Sunday? And then there will pancake breakfast and worship in the park on Sunday this weekend as well. On our next meeting, October 1st, we will be having a joint meeting with the City Council. We mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the animal ordinance, to discuss some of that, as well as a non-binding concept review will be coming in to present before both you guys and the City Council, so they don't have to come to multiple meetings for this particular project.
I lied to all you. I'll be back for another meeting.
We're looking forward to it.
Hey, I don't mind it.
For that meeting, we will also potentially have a public hearing just for the Planning Commission. So we might have to have a little Planning Commission meeting and then move into a joint meeting as we go along to make sure that it all works out.
Excellent.
I will clarify that. Yes.
Robin, if I could be recognized, thank you.
Yes.
Typically, under the commissioner's report and the planning commission, is that all of the planning commissioners? Don't they each get a chance to report on something they might have done? I know the last few meetings, and I just...
We've been rushing through it a little bit.
Yeah, but I
Of
just...
course.
I'm not sure.
Point of order, really.
Yeah,
Like,
okay. I did not
Typically, you,
know.
like at the council, mayor would ask, do you have a report, Jenny? And then go down the line. And typically,
Thanks for
we might
pointing
or
that out.
might not, but
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Okay,
in the future.
okay, I'll remember that. You guys remember that too. Hold
All
me
right,
to it.
we'll hold you
Hold me to it.
to it.
Everyone has to have a fun little story to share.
Nothing.
For the record, did any of you have anything?
No.
Okay,
Likely not for the foreseeable future.
all right. Number 10 there.
This is Susan. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mike, second.
Take a vote.
Kim, I.
Susan, I.
Mike, aye.
Andy, aye.
Rob and I. We are adjourned at 7:08.